wanted to record it so we can share the video out with them afterwards. But I guess first of all, I'm Andy Harkavy. I'm the Director of Congregational Engagement. Many of you I already know, and some of you I look forward to getting to know more. I will let Allison and Ellen introduce themselves, and then we can dive right into the agenda. So thank you all for joining us.
Ellen, why don't you go first and then I'll.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you tons. A real tiny, quick technical thing. If you are able, and if you can't, don't panic out. It would be slightly helpful to me and everybody else if you know how to change your screen name. For example, there's David, and I think from my registration that might be Carolyn David, but I don't know for sure because I've not met you yet. If people are able to change their name to what they would like to be called, or if there's two of you, like I see Patty and Joel, yay, I can see you because your name says so. If you can't or you don't know how, don't worry about it. But if it's something you do know how, that would be nice. We are going to have basically start. Well, Allison, did you
wanted you to introduce yourself.
I'm Ellen. Hello. Sometimes I get tech obsessed.
Just on what Ellen said, to rename your screen, it's the three dots at the top right of your screen. If you right click on the three dots, you'll see where you can rename yourself. So I'm Allison Levinson. I'm co-chair along with Ellen of TriBE, and we welcome you all here. So what we're going to do tonight, the biggest piece of what we're going to do is introduce ourselves to each other so that we can get to know each other, but also it's called Hanani, why you're here, what you're hoping to gain from this information session, not just about, I mean, obviously you want to know more about tribes, but if there's something, a particular reason that you're wanting and interested in tribes, that would be something we'd like you to share. And Ellen's going to give you the three questions that we would like you to answer. And then from there, we're hoping that we do think that's a jumping off point to conversation, but so we're not going to stick to the agenda if we feel like there's some really points that come across in the introductions, then we'll take our conversation there. But otherwise, what we'll do after that point is tell you what tribes are. We will tell you the varieties of tribes that we currently have, and also give you some information about what tribes are open and what our timeline is for expanding tribes, and some mini tribes that we're looking at doing, and then also in what it takes to become a leader, what kind of resources and curriculum that we will provide as the TriBE co-chair, just the whole small groups initiative, what's out there for you. And then we'll also have Q&A. So if you have any questions and you want to just pop them in the chat box, you can do that. And that way we'll have a running total of questions, and you don't have to worry about it, saving it for the end of the meeting, but or you can just wait and ask them at the end of the session. So we're hoping to keep this to not much more than an hour, because I know it's already 8 o'clock and it gets late. So we will start now with Ellen doing the Hanani. And Ellen, are you going to talk about the timers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to try and stay to literally just a minute. And Andy, I think, is going to type these questions in the box, the chat box, but it's basically, and we'll prompt you if you forget, don't worry about it. But so we're curious, how long have you been a member of Bethel? Something unique to you, an interest or a passion or some weird biographical detail, not a whole story, just a little something that's special to you. And the why are you here? What would you like most tribes to be for you? I'm happy to start off. That sort of makes it easy. And I will say who's next and who's going to be on deck after that. So I'm going to use who's on my screen. So actually, because Allison's next to me, after I go, Allison, I'm going to ask you to go. Okay, and then I'll pipe up. So we came to Charlotte in 2000, makes it easy for me to remember. So now we're getting into our 21st year here. We were members of Temple when we joined. Interest and passion. I I'm interested in something called spiritual direction, and I like meditation and writing. And why are you here? I'm here because I think, well, tribes may be sort of a work in progress. We're constantly trying to get it better and make it meet people's needs, being in relationship with other people, and particularly one-on-one, small, real relationships as opposed to big groups, is something that is just deeply meaningful to me. I did forget to say on the timer, Allison's going to have like a little bell. If you go, when 60 seconds comes, you will hear it. That means wrap it up. If you take less than 60 seconds, fine. So I'm done. Allison, you're on mute.
Yeah, I forgot to put the timer on you.
And I'm gonna, oh, okay, well, there, I probably talked long. And I'm gonna say Andy, because I'm just going on order. You're gonna be after Allison.
Sounds good. My name's Andy Harkavy.
No, wait, Allison first. Allison first. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Allison.
So I've been in Charlotte for a very long time, 1986. I've been a member of Temple Beth since 94. And I have, way back when I was first a member of Temple, we had something called bagels. And that was like the group for young people to socialize. So it was, this is the reincarnation, but much better of what that was so many years ago. And Ellen and I have been co-chairs of tribes for just 6 months, but been involved in a member of a tribe since the launch. And I'm in the wine and geography tribe. I am a participant, not actually a leader. And when Andy asked us to consider being co-chairs, my response was, well, this is where I spend my time, and it's so important to me that I want to be able to share it with other people. And so that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Allison. Okay, after Andy, Winifred, you're going to be after Andy. Get it, Andy.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Allison. So I was a member / staff person from 2010 to 2013, left and came back in 2017 with a wife and a son. And now we have a 1-year-old. So I've been back. Officially, I have about 7 years at Bethel. Something unique to me and interest and passion, I would say, I joke around that sports and Judaism are my two religions, and they both sometimes battle each other out for what's more important depending on which season it is or which holiday it is. And then why I'm here, part of it is I am here for work, but also, as Ellen and Allison have said, I now have the pleasure of being a participant in a men's tribe as well. I'm all about relationships and all about engagement and all about helping congregants find a meaningful way to connect at Bethel. So that is one of the reasons I'm here as well, because of work and personal interest.
Thanks, Andy. After Winifred, we're going to get a twofer. It's going to be Joel, then Patty. You're muted, Winifred. But there you go. Thanks.
I'm muted. Well, Winnie is fine.
Winnie, thank you.
I spell it W-I-N-I. I've been in Charlotte for about 4 years and have been a member at Bethel since we first came. I suppose there's several things that I enjoy doing, and traveling is one. I'm being vaccinated on Sunday, so I'm really anxious to get back to doing some traveling and swimming. And I'm just curious about tribes.
Thanks, Winnie. Awesome. Joel and Patty. And after Joel and Patty, we're going to get another twofer. We're going to do Carol and David. Oh, Joel, I'm sorry. I can't hear you. Do you want to, can you get a little closer to your mic? I don't know, say something else. Am I the only one having problems hearing? Can anybody else?
I'm having problems hearing you.
Okay, let's try it again. Actually, Patty, would you say something from your end? I mean, I hate tech. Well, I will say, I don't think any of us are hearing you well. I'm going to let you keep trying for a minute, but it might be helpful, as impersonal as it is, if one of you could also maybe type it in the chat box, unless you already have. I see, do we have chats here? No. And I don't know why we can't hear you, because you're not muted. Typing, okay. I see somebody typing. I'll tell you what, Joel, if you're typing the info with you and Patty, thank you, keep doing that. Let's pop ahead and try while you're entering info. Carol and David, Carol, would you like to share? We've got, how long have you been with Bethel? Unique interest or passion? Why are you here? And you're muted. Still muted, Carol. Do you know how to unmute? Natalie, can you unmute them?
Do you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. We moved to Charlotte in 1999, and in July and in September, we were members of Temple Bethel because having a Jewish connection was very, very important to us. Now, this is interesting because Andy may remember that a year or two ago, we tried to form a tribe, and for some reason, it didn't work out. So we are attempting again, looking for senior couples who enjoy playing Trivial Pursuit, the original version, and card games, bridge and gin rummy.
By the way, it's competitive. It's men against women.
Right. We love socializing. We have a lovely group of friends here, but we're always looking to expand. So you can look for us when they post our new tribe thing.
Cool. And something unique or interesting about you or that you're passionate about besides games?
Passionate about each other.
That's it. Thanks. How about you, David?
She said it all.
Well, we moved here to be close to our grandchildren, who we only had a granddaughter at the time. She was 6 months old. Now our granddaughter and our grandson are grown and they're not in Charlotte any longer. They're doing great things. Granddaughter
Terrific.
is a nurse in UVA Medical Center, and the grandson is a junior at Rensselaer Polytech in Troy, New York.
Awesome.
Both doing what they want to do.
Thank you all.
So, yeah.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And I forgot to say, Etta and Randy, you guys are next, and Robin, you're going to be on deck. And Randy and Etta, you're muted still.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so far in the group, we're the newest arrivals. We came to Charlotte in July, and we came for grandkids. Right now, actually, we happen to be in our Florida home, which doesn't really matter because nobody's getting together and doing anything anyway. So we're wintering in Florida and hoping when we get back in the spring, after we already had one vaccination also, we hope to get our second in 2 weeks, that there'll be a lot more people who are in the same situation, and we hopefully can get to meet some people other than our 5-person additional household family, the only people we know really in Charlotte. We'd like to make some friends. We love to travel. We love to eat out, and yeah, we need to form a new community because we moved away from everybody that we knew to be close to our immediate family. And we're really happy that we did. It's certainly not a negative, but during a pandemic was a little bit of a strange situation, and it's going to obviously take us a while to form an adult community for ourselves.
Thank
you. If a tribe can help us, meet some people and have some friendship, then that would be great.
Terrific. And just to clarify, are you Etta? Because
I'm Ita.
Ita, thank you for correcting me. Awesome.
You're
Randy.
welcome.
Randy?
And I have no clue what it says when I go on Zoom, what you're seeing as far as.
It actually
the
says
computer.
Ida and Randy Auslander, so it's perfect.
Okay. Oh, that's perfect.
We live in the Waxhaw area and about a mile from our kids and grandkids. And they're sort of watching the house for us today. Our 14-year-old grandson called and said, hey, I want grilled cheese and tomato soup for lunch, and we don't have any tomato soup in the house. Can I go over to your house and look for some? And yeah, okay. So he went over there and called us from the house, and Ita told him where to find it, and he found it. He's a happy camper.
Technology can be awesome.
Yeah.
It can be. It can be.
Any particular interests, Randy, besides family? Or in addition to family, I should say?
Well, we mentioned traveling. We're avid travelers. Ita was a travel agent for a number of years. Our son, who is a TVE member, is a pilot, and we enjoy our fringe benefit for putting him through school and everything, and having passes on the airline. And except we haven't flown anywhere now since last March.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And as somebody put in the chat, welcome to Charlotte.
Thank you.
Okay. After Robin, we're going to have Jody next. Robin, you're up.
I'm Robin Levitt. I've been a member since 2006, having moved to Charlotte from Philadelphia in 2005, late 2005. I have several things I have a lot of interest in. One, I've been very passionate in my life about cycling. I've been an avid cyclist. A little less now. I had a bad accident a couple of years ago, so I've had to chill a little bit, but love watching cycling, love reading about cycling, love podcasts about cycling, anything about cycling. Also UConn women's basketball, opera, and I have a collection since I moved here of North Carolina pottery. Many North Carolina potters. I'm running out of space in the house, but something I really enjoy. And I'm not sure why I'm here. Well, I do. So in part, I feel like I'm in a tribe with Winnie because I do tourist study every Saturday morning. And that's really my, in addition to services, is my main connection, and very committed to tourist study. Also, though I'm retiring at the end of June or early July, the date's still getting finalized. And in addition to, I do volunteer with United Way, but in addition to that, I'm thinking about other ways, other forms of engagement when I'm not working full time, because I spend a lot of hours working, and I'm not doing that. I'm thinking I'll have a lot of hours to fill. So I'm just exploring options.
Thank you, Robin. Thanks so much. All right, after Jody, it's going to be Elise. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, Jody, you're up.
I have been a member of Bethel about 12 years now, I think, and moved to Charlotte in 2005, so 15 years now. Interesting tidbits. I was on staff for Temple Bethel during Andy's first go-round for a few years working communications. I've since moved over and I'm editor of Ballantine magazine, so I enjoy writing and editing. I also like cultural things. I used to direct the Charlotte Jewish Film Festival, working with Robin way back when, like 10 years ago already, which is crazy. So what's interesting to me about the tribes is just the opportunity to connect with people and have some fun. My husband and I were trying to find ways to creatively have date nights while we're in close quarters with our homeschoolers in elementary and middle school. And we did a wine tasting not long ago with some friends and family. And it was just a nice, easy way to have that connection and cultural opportunity. So I was hoping maybe through tribes there'd be something similar that would help me connect within the Temple family in that kind of fun cultural way.
Great, thanks, Jody. So Elise is next, and Natalie, I'm so used to you, frankly, being invisible in the background, but you're here and I see you, so I'm going to ask you to also share it, so you're not just a face. Elise, you're up.
Hi, so I'm Elise. We've been members about 2 years now. I was fostering puppies for a long time before COVID, so we were very popular at the drop-off line for religious school. And then the reason I'm here is, same thing. Like we spent the first 2 years really kind of getting the kids in and making it to service. And then with COVID, I felt really distanced, and it was suggested that I give tribes a chance. So that's why I'm here.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Natalie, tell us about yourself. Same stuff.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm really here just for TB Tech, but always curious about what Tribes is, and perhaps that tribe will come along that I will find the time to participate in. I've been a member since 2004 when Spencer, my husband, and I were married by Rabbi Judy Schindler. Something unique about myself, super crafty, anything crafty, love to do crafts. And yeah, I'm here because I am your tech support person letting you in from the waiting room.
Thanks, Natalie.
Welcome.
All right, so on our agenda next, I'm gonna
Ellen?
sort of give, yes.
I'm sorry. I know that Patty and Joel chatted in the chat there.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm telling you, apologies, Patty and Joel. All right, let me pull it up. Okay, so I'm going to just read it. And again, I'm so sorry the tech didn't work, and maybe the volume, and maybe we'll figure out later. Thank you, Natalie. So Patty and Joel, we've been in Charlotte since 2010 and split our time between Ocean City, Maryland and Charlotte. Sounds good. We belong to a smaller temple in Ocean City, Maryland, about 150 families, and wanted to meet and engage with people here in Charlotte. We joined Temple Beth this past July, and we both volunteer in Delaware during the summers. Our children and grandchildren are in the Charlotte area. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate that. Beautiful. And I was gonna say, if anything, like when it comes to questions or anything, we can always, Patty and Joel, try again, on your mic and audio. But if it doesn't work, we will use the chat, and someone will make sure that it's not missed. Okay. So the next component on the agenda, as we've got it, is says what is a tribe, but how is it different than a club? Andy is going to be sharing a handy little graphic here.
Can everyone see the screen? I want to make sure I'm sharing. Okay.
Can you
great.
make it a little bigger? I mean, in terms of the center part.
Yeah, let me click.
Yeah, that's good. That works for me, and I think that'll be better. And I'm going to make it myself. If anybody wants to if there's a little line in the center of your Zoom screen, if you wish to resize things, get the people bigger and the graphic smaller. I just did that. That's your call. This cute little graphic is actually really, really helpful. It's a guide for what makes tribes, but it's not like iron rules by any stretch. Sort of like an idealized version of a tribe has all these different components. And a club scenario typically wouldn't have all these. But I don't know, I'm not sure there's any tribe that does all of these, certainly not all of them in every meeting. But this idea of we pray together, we act together, we play together, we care for each other, we're accountable to each other, we learn together. They're kind of general statements that are also very true. And as we get on in the meeting with examples of some tribes and stuff, it may become a little more apparent sort of how these 6 components are made real and not just sort of some idea. I mean, just as for instance, pray together. In my particular tribe, we begin every meeting with a chant. The mics are off and Chef of Gold sings, and it's just part of our little ritual. It's how we begin, and that's our praying and a big component of our Judaica as well. But that's just a little example. I was talking to Allison a couple of weeks ago, and we're trying to articulate. So, like, if a tribe joins around an interest, like movies or maybe books, how is that different than like a movie club or a book club? And I think what the essence of the difference is tribes are absolutely relational in addition to content. For example, let's just say books. Let's say it's a book club tribe. Of course, presumably one would discuss the book in whatever way, the group decides they want to do it. And well, maybe in book clubs, it sometimes happens and some people get annoyed because that's not what they joined for, and other people love it because it is what they joined for. In tribes, the intention is there to use the material as also a springboard for personal sharing and information. I mean, it's not a therapy group, but it's the kind of thing of interweaving content, whether it's a book or a movie or a Jewish study question or games. I mean, offhand, I'm not quite sure how, games would directly, interact with personal sharing, other than it's a medium to be together, have, for example, some friendly competition, and in the context of getting to know each other, the accountable to each other, that kind of typically means showing up, and if you can't show up, you let people know, caring for each other. While we absolutely celebrate each other's joys, in 2 tribes I'm in, there have been some serious illnesses coming up of members, and each tribe is, we've just, our move to, when we sent flowers from one, we sent food from another, we check in with text with the member who is ill, and it's just something that has actually evolved, but knowing that it's an intention of being together supports the evolution, of expressing caring for each other. It takes time to bond, of course, but it really, in my experience and from what we hear from others, it really does happen, and it's pretty powerful. The playing together component can be either what you're getting together for, like playing games, watching movies, writing together. It can be, a lot of tribes will have a theme of one thing, but before COVID, go out and do something, like go out to dinner, and they're not necessarily a dinner tribe. There are things that you can do that are just fun. It is holistic. The act together can be, again, what you do in your tribe. It can be community service. Different tribes have felt drawn to different things. This kind of ideal of, I think we kind of loosely said sort of between 5 and 15 people, and nothing's cast in stone. I think we actually have at least one tribe that has 3, which in my opinion is a little small, but they're happy, and our outdoor tribe technically has a roster of, I think it's probably at least 25, but in fact, a typical tribe number of like maybe 10 to 12 are what typically gather each time. The magic of having a number limit is it just tends to really support the building of the community and the getting to know each other, making it a little different than, maybe a lot different than going to programming events, whether it's Spice or Porch, or where there may be lots and lots of people. The consistency of the same small-ish group really does have a fair bit of power. That is what, this may well elicit questions, and by all means, write them down, put them in the chat box so we can get to it, because I really kind of feel I just kind of surfaced over that. But I think we're up to move on to the next section, which is Allison, I think. Unless Allison or Andy, if I've forgotten anything that you want me to do, let me know.
No. So Andy, did you have anything?
I was trying to say something. I didn't realize I was muted. I was going to say, great job, Ellen. And we'll obviously have a Q&A at the end as well. So if we don't have answers right now, we hope that you will have answers to everything at the end.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the variety of tribes, and I have my little cheat sheet here, so excuse me while I cheat. So I went back and looked at all the tribes that we have, and one of the things that, if you look at our tribes information on the website, I don't know how many of you have dug a little bit deep to find out what about tribes and all that, but typically, as Ellen said, they're organized around an interest, a profession, geography. Well, that's it. Those are basically the types of them. But I want to give you some examples, because when I started just calculating and looking at the different tribes, I was really surprised that quite a few are, and the majority of our tribes are centered around Judaism, but yet they're all different. So for example, there's one that they celebrate Shabbat together, and previously they were having Shabbat dinners together, but now they're actually coming together remotely through Zoom and having their Shabbat dinner. But then there's one for new Jews. There's one for interfaith Jews. There's one called Freedom Faith that what they're doing is they want to explore how other Jews are living in other communities, not just in the States, but around the world. There's one that's specifically for Jewish learning. So they're going to have discussions and actual study. And it could be 1 week it's Torah. It could be that there's a particular article or something that's been out there that someone wants to read, and they'll discuss that. And one thing I want to mention about tribes, what's really great, and in my tribe, and I imagine in a lot of these tribes, like Ellen's with the writing, Andy's in one, it's a discussion group that everybody takes part. There's a leader, but everybody takes turns coming up more or less with a curriculum and what might be your topic that week, what might be the movie you're going to watch, what might be the documentary. And so everybody is truly engaged in the tribe by participating at a higher level. So you're not, and so that really makes it special, and it also gives you buy-in. But just to continue, like there's Jewish mindfulness and spirituality, Jewish cooking, Jewish literature. So there's so many tribes that touch on that. But then we also have ones that are centered around arts, and there's a movie tribe, there's a documentary tribe, there's Charlotte Arts and tribe that they would attend when they could in person, musical events, theater events, museums. And now they've pivoted and been able to figure out a way to do that via Zoom. And so, that is another interest people have. There's writing, Ellen's in writing. There's 2 writing tribes. There's exploration. There's the outdoor club. There's Charlotte and Beyond. So this group will go plan trips local. I think they went to Greenville, South Carolina, and visited something Jewish there. I've talked to them about Charleston. They were going to go to Charleston to the first synagogue in the U.S. So you have that kind of grouping of tribes, and you have based on geography. So the Auslanders said they were in Waxhaw. So we have a group that's in Indian land. We have a group that's up in Lake Norman. So that they came together because of where they live. And then we have just general support and discussion groups. There's a parents of teens tribe. There's new dads tribe. There's a men's discussion group tribe and a women's discussion group tribe. So you can see that how this all works together and comes together for all of us to find something we're interested in. And like I said, I'm in the food and wine. No, I'm in the wine and geography tribe. And then there's others that are centered around food, cooking tribes. There's vino and vinyl. So that's a group that comes together and plays music, old music, and bourbon and banter. So again, you can see where I'm going with this. So when you've all talked about what some of your interests are, but we will be polling you to get a little bit more in depth what kind of tribe you might be interested in, so that we can find a match for you. And also, as we look to create tribes, you can see that there's all kinds of possibilities. So please, if you have any questions, again, type them here, and then we'll continue on, which I don't have my agenda in front of me.
Thank you, Allison. It's me next. I appreciate you sharing all the variety of tribes. One of the things I wanted to talk to everyone about is obviously Ellen shared a little bit around the different types of things that we hope tribes do. We obviously want them to be well balanced, and then Allison shared, the different types of tribes and the varieties of tribes. I think a few things I want to hit on in regard to leadership and leading a tribe. I recognize leadership can be a very scary word, but I also think that one of the great things about Bethel and what we've done with tribes and having people like Ellen and Allison is you're never alone. Temple Bethel is very committed to making sure that you are set up for success if you were to lead a tribe. If you want to be a participant, that's also okay. I think we just want to make sure everyone finds their place at Bethel, but we want to make sure everyone knows that we're committed to helping set you up for success, that you have the proper resources and tools and all of the things to be a successful leader if you choose to go that route. Something that's really important if you choose to lead a tribe, is we have this thing called the Tribe Leader Guide. And I think it's really important, as Ellen mentioned earlier, about being set in stone or not set in stone and being fluid. When I first got here, I had a conversation with one of our clergy because they were used to calling it a manual. And as we were talking about it with a leadership team, for me, as someone who I did a driver's test, it was still like 15 years ago now, but like I hear the word manual and it's, this is what you must do, this is the law, this is how it must go, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And in my head, I think guide just sounds, it sounds a little more friendly. And I think one of the things that we're trying to do when we empower people to lead is we're wanting to set you up for success and being able to lead in ways that you're going to be successful. What works for me may not work for Ellen, may or may not work for Jody, may or may not work for David and Carol. And I think that's something that's really important, that the guide is really there for you to use it at your disposal, to have all the to have your toolkit ready, but to also know that you're not alone in leading. A few of the components that we've also noticed to help tribe leaders lead successfully is just knowing that they have a coach, they have someone that's able to help mentor them, they have a leadership team that's able to support them, they have the leader guide that I mentioned, so there's lots of different resources. And then the tribes themselves meeting regularly, as Allison and Ellen both said earlier, just the relationships. I think at the end of the day, people connecting with other people is what tribes are all about. Bethel is somewhat of a larger congregation, and it's hard to be seen and known and felt and heard. And having tribes and being able to have a one-on-one conversation or a conversation in a group of 10 people is such an easier way to really connect with each other. So it's really about creating relationships with one another. It's about having flexibility. So as we said earlier, you have the guide, you can take the tribe in a lot of different directions. And then two other things that we've really found tribe leaders having great success in is really sharing empowerment. We want to make sure that you don't feel like you're taking this on alone, but being able to say, this week so-and-so is going to host. I recognize right now it's on Zoom, so no one may be opening up their homes anytime soon, but if someone wants to lead the opening prayer, if someone wants to eventually bake a dish or choose the movie, if it's the movie tribe, maybe choosing a movie or leading the dialogue. David and Carol talked about games. If you share the ownership and allow different people to say, this is the game we want to play when we get together this month, the buy-in of everyone who's a part of your tribe really gets them to share the ownership, and it makes them feel more connected. And it also it makes them, in theory, it helps them get more committed to it as well. And then also a breed. I think something that, when Ellen shared the tribe hexagon at the beginning, that's to play together, pray together, care together, and act together. We really want people to have a level of accountability and creating expectations. For all of you that have kids or grandkids, the first thing you do when you go to camp or go to school, you have the list of classroom rules. We don't want the tribe to be so much that it's so strict, but we also want people to, if you're putting time in as a leader or as a participant, we want people to know that they're showing up for something to a group of committed individuals, and not that they're going to show up and put all this time and effort into something that others aren't taking seriously. So I think the Brit, which means covenant in Hebrew, is a great way to really just create a level playing field of some guides and some ways to make sure that the group is able to function and flow smoothly. Ellen, I need to take a sip of water because I know I just did a lot of talking. If you're able to start the next agenda item,
Sure.
I know we're tag teaming it.
Sure. We're going to talk a little bit, both Andy and I, sort of back and forth on sort of the timeline for expansion and what can we offer you right now? Because to be perfectly frank, the challenge of where we are is, I will share, there are some existing tribes that have spots, but generally speaking, not enough. That's a great sign for success. That's like they're full, they're happy, there's not room for more, it becomes too unwieldy. And we have discovered people seem to be a little shy about the willingness to lead or co-lead, and co-leading is 1000% fine. And in order to create tribes, we do need to have people sort of step up to the plate. It's like, well, I'm willing to try, leading or co-leading. Before we go there, again, current tribes that appear to have some openings, well, even before that, right off the bat, I would put on my list, and it's very exciting that David and Carol They want to start a tribe. I mean, admittedly, this is their interest. They've got, you know, they want to do trivia and some specific games or kinds of games. Hopefully they may be open a little bit on the types of games, but there is an opportunity. But of course, if you're not interested in games, then that's too specific for you in a direction that doesn't match. But that is one, and there are people who are not here tonight who've expressed interest that is sort of ground up. Cooking is another interest. There's an existing Seasoned in the South cooking tribe, which I think it has like a space open, but and there's also somebody who would express interest about maybe leading that one or co-leading that one. So getting another cooking tribe off the ground is we're hoping for that if there is interest. Also possibly, I don't know if this would apply to anybody here, but a new singles tribe. There's an existing one that's kind of filled and running. There appear to be enough singles who are really interested in joining that. And I sort of put it out there as much because I don't know if anybody here is single or not, but if you know people who are and might be interested, that is one that I think we're looking to fill and has high potential to be off the ground. Something, I don't think Andy said it or I said it, something about leadership is you're not expected as a leader to fill your tribe. That's not part of it. If you know people, great, you know, you're welcome to invite them in. The goal of tribes is not actually to gather your existing friends. That is okay. But you know, it's not your responsibility if you say you'll lead a tribe to figure out who's in it. That's sort of like Temple. You know, we've got all these frameworks in place for reaching out. Let's see. So singles tribes, cooking, and then there are 2 writing tribes. Mine's called Right Now. We have like 1 spot left. We happen to have a process that's really, really structured. I feel like I'll give my little plug here. We write together in the moment, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that would be helpful to know if you might be interested to sort of really know for sure. And now wouldn't be the time to go into those details. And the other writing tribe called This Is Us, according to our roster, they have more than 1 space. They have a small handful of spaces, and I don't know how they run or what they do, you know, but certainly if anybody was interested in a writing tribe, there would be at this point 2 options to find out more and someplace to go there. So that's kind of exciting. Oh, and the Outdoors tribe. I mentioned when I spoke before, it's one with a really long membership roster, but from what I hear, it doesn't show up that way. It's, you know, they routinely go outside and meet and hike and walk. I think they have a variety of, I think, like shorter, easier versus longer, harder. Donna Nod.
Donna Foster
Yes.
helps, and I think Mike Ferry helps her with that
Okay.
group.
And so Donna's been at it, I know, for a long time. I mean, they were sort of a group before they morphed into tribes. So they have a lot of history. They've got a lot of grounding. I hear really wonderful things about it. Again, if you're not into being outside, that wouldn't be one for you. But if that's something that might interest you, even if you might want a smaller, more intimate tribe that maybe does more talking or does something else, that could definitely be a place to jump in, you know, and get your feet wet.
Can I just
Yes.
something about the Outdoor Tribe? So they have their own Facebook page, and how they work is that they'll post where they're hiking, and then typically it's at a greenway and it's local 1 month, and then it's a little bit farther away the next month. And they also they take turns leading the hike, but it is more specifically hiking than anything else. But you could jump to their Facebook page. I'm going to find the link, and you could just take a look and scroll through and see if any of you are interested in see the different types of hikes they do. So
thanks, Allison. I'm going to talk on a little bit more before I turn it over to Andy to pick up the same topic of like, what are some options and opportunities coming up. I think we may have already mentioned mini tribes. In other words, we've got several opportunities. I'm just going to talk about one of them for a sort of like, I almost want to say an experimental tribe. The genesis of tribes was the idea of sort of committing, you know, without signing in blood, but committing to like a year, you know, maybe longer, you know, if you couldn't stand it, you certainly can drop out, but sort of that we're talking about at least a year at a time is the general sense of tribes. There's a lot of, in other congregations, a lot of success, and even some in ours, with something that is sort of in the tribe model. It's small groups, but it's like a quarterly thing, like 3 months, and they may meet 3 times. Dusty, Rabbi Dusty has led one that was in the model. I don't know if we called it a tribe. It was a Elul group, I think, before the high holidays. We have more of those in mind. One specifically that Alice and I are kind of hoping there might be interest in that we could spread, because it would start really soon with the Jewish Film Festival coming up in February. We thought that might be a fantastic opportunity for a real mini tribe, like maybe 2 meetings. The films span basically 1 month. So, you know, it'd be somebody wanted to spearhead it, like meeting, you know, maybe once, you know, like 2 weeks in, and then once 2 weeks after or something. So meeting in February and meeting in March to discuss. And it might, you know, after that, maybe you would want to keep meeting, but nobody was making any commitment to do it. We are going to be offering a February 10th leadership training. Some of the people we actually did reach out to, we thought might be open to leading this. We may have some people, we don't have a definite yes yet, but I'm also really open to, if anybody here, and Jody, since you mentioned the Jewish Film Festival, I have to admit my eyes perked up and oh, I wonder if she'd be interested. You know, like if you haven't, it doesn't matter, you know, like if you don't necessarily want to be a tribe leader for full tribe, but you'd be willing, you know, step in for 2 meetings of it, it's a possibility. Nobody is, you know, saying, oh, great, now you've got to do something else. You got to do the whole thing. But that's one that might really be fun and a quick start, even for, you know, if there are people here who are kind of interested, you know, don't ultimately maybe want a movie tribe, but would like to sort of get their feet wet with what it would be like, you know, to do a tribe, just to have a couple meetings. I'm going to turn it over to Andy to fill in the rest of the sort of the upcoming, but I think they're all sort of in the mini tribe idea.
Thank you, Ellen. Yes. So 2 other things. One thing we realized is clearly traditionally tribes have met in person. Because of COVID right now and people's comfort level about meeting online, I would say almost all of our tribes are meeting online. The one tribe that has met in person a couple of times is outdoors. And I think different tribes, the beauty of it is regardless of whether Temple's building is open or closed, tribes have been able to operate with or without the temple being open. So it's been a great way for people to still continue to connect online. And some of them have chosen to get together in person if the whole group has decided to do so. So I think that's just something I wanted to add that in here. When we talked about shared ownership earlier, I think it really goes back to the whole group needs to be equally committed to it. Because of COVID and realizing that the days of us getting everyone together in our social hall to learn about tribes or go around like a club fair, which is what we've historically done the past couple of years, we're not at that place right now, unfortunately, due to the numbers and Temple being closed physically. So one thing we're trying to do is take advantage of the opportunities we do have online. As Ellen mentioned, there's the film festival. We have MLK Shabbat coming up. We have comparative religion coming up in January and February. So we're hopeful that if there are groups of people that really are fascinated about racial justice or learning about different faiths, the theme of this year's comparative religion, a lot of it's about healing. We're hopeful that we can create a curriculum and give it out to our current tribe so they can all learn together in their own tribe. Or if there are people that are like, hey, I really love comparative religion, I don't have time to commit to 12 months, but for 4 weeks, I would love to get together once a week by attending the comparative religion thing. And maybe in between that, I get together once or twice and have a conversation about whatever we just learned about the topic or the speaker or whatever. And then the other thing, similar to what Rabbi Class did earlier this year with Elul, she did a book series where each week, I think it was for a period of about 6 to 8 weeks during Elul, they got together and did reflections. And because racial justice is a big thing, a big priority for Bethel coming out of MLK Shabbat, Rabbi Class is wanting to do something around the book. I forget if it's Me and White Supremacy or White Supremacy and Me, but Rabbi Class is gonna do a little book discussion with it. And we're hopeful that people will potentially be interested in either participating in that and having dialogue with Rabbi Class about the book, and maybe out of that, racial justice tribes may be born. So our goal is to really connect people around whatever is going on, both with Temple Bethel and even Shalom Park right now, knowing that as much as buildings are physically closed, the programs are still active, Temple is thriving. There are a lot of opportunities to connect. As Ita and Randy just mentioned, they're in Florida. Patty and Joel, you may be up in Ocean City one weekend and you can still be in Charlotte on Zoom. So I think that's one of the blessings of Zoom right now is we're really able to find different ways that our congregants can connect, whether whether you're in Matthews or Waxhaw or Maryland and Florida, you can still be able to be a part of Temple Bethel's community. So that's what we're hoping for in the coming months. And then obviously, in addition, we're hopeful that we'll be able to launch some new tribes as well that'll open up more spots for more congregants. And I'm gonna pass it back to Ellen and Allison, who can share a little more about the curriculum and resources. Just to give everyone a heads up, I will share links in the chat box, and we will also make sure that if you open them now, you can explore, but we'll also make sure that we'll be able to email all of these links out to you later, so you have them to look back on as well.
So one of the things about the curriculum and resources that Ellen and I talked about how we wanted to present that to you was really in how we said that tribes are different than clubs, and there's a relational part of it. And part of the curriculum for each meeting is to ask a big question, and not every tribe does it, but what's really great about the big question is that it really is a conversation starter. You know, we at my tribe, we have the social time at the beginning, and then we have the programming part of it, which is to present a wine and the geography related to where that wine comes from. And then we have our big question. And we thought that we would just provide you with some examples of questions that we may ask, because we do have resources. There's a relational question bank, and as Andy said, he's going to provide those links. But we've had, certainly in this last year with COVID and all, there have been several questions in my tribe relating to how we're making an impact in the community and what we're doing to help other people, or there's been some stuff around Black Lives Matters and racial justice. And when we hosted, one of the questions we asked and was, where are you from? And what was it like growing up where you were from? And it was really fun, because we, you know, as we've all seen, we all have pretty much come to Charlotte from somewhere else. My husband is one of the few natives to Charlotte, but it's just very interesting to see how people arrive here and where they were and what it was like growing up. And so, you know, that's just an example of, for me, a kind of relational question that really everyone was excited about and really enjoyed talking to. You know, everyone likes to talk about themselves, but, you know, they really, it was really meaningful for our whole tribe to have that conversation.
I could give a quick example. One of the writing tribe, sometimes we use the relational questions, but one month used some of the material. There was like a poem, a story poem by a Jewish writer, and it was images having to do with a homeless guy with a sick dog on the street and a family driving by. I mean, that's just sort of the synopsis. And so basically sort of read the poem and used that as a prompt for people to write from the point of view of one of the characters, you know, someone in the car, the well-to-do family driving by, the homeless guy, the dog. Someone wrote a fabulous little piece, and we just spit it out like in 10 minutes without thinking about it and just share it as raw writing. And the guy who actually wrote, I still remember, who wrote from the position of the dog, was really fun. And then it evolved into our discussion afterwards on that one, you know, sort of, I mean, I don't think we labeled it Jewish values, but what's, you know, sort of, what would we do? You know, what are the conflicting feelings about their small children in this car? Do I know it's safe to pick up this, you know, this guy, you know? And it was just really interesting and very organic. You know, it's like, it was a Jewish work of art, you know, the person who did the, you know, who wrote the poem. And we were, you know, I don't think we consciously pulled in much Jewish text or anything of like, well, this is the value that might say to do A or B. And it was just really interesting. You know, the curriculum really, in quotes, the resources we have is pretty diverse and pretty accessible. You know, you can pick and choose for inspiration and have your tribe members go there as well as you're sharing that leadership, as you are a member of the tribe, you know, that yeah, part of the fun is being creative, you know, and either taking a deep breath to do something maybe you're a little less comfortable with and have somebody do it with you so it's not scary, you know, or just exploring, knowing people have your back. It shouldn't feel stressful, it should feel fun, but it might feel a little bit challenging in a good way. So that's my curriculum pitch.
I think, Andy, you were just going to talk about the tribe leader forum.
Yes, I'm happy to. Yeah, the one other thing I want to add, sorry, I have a 3-year-old who in theory is going to bed and is not doing a great job at it. So I'm hearing him in the background right now. One of the other things I wanted to add about the curriculum, I think the biggest thing Ellen said is just the fact that it's accessible. We don't want learning or teaching or facilitating to feel like it's a burden or a chore. The resources we have for you really help guide the conversation for you. You don't have to be a rabbi. You don't have to be an educator. You don't have to be a Jewish scholar. And you can come up with some really cool questions. It can be, what's your favorite Hanukkah memory? Or, we did something at the Magic of Hanukkah where we talked about, how do you shine the light in the world around you? Or what's a magical experience you've had lately? So it doesn't have to be something where you've an expert in a certain field. I think that's the cool thing about the curriculum and resources is you really get to make it your own. And you may find really cool resources that we haven't given you, and you may be able to find different things that you're able to share with other tribe leaders and help us help each other out in that world. So that's also been the greatest thing about this initiative is people have really taken it in a lot of different directions. As Ellen just mentioned, we do have a tribe leader training on February 10th. One thing we typically have passed out when we've been in person is a little sheet of paper that says, hey, I'm interested, or here are my ideas. I'm putting it in the chat box. If you guys can save this link or bookmark it, that's great. And again, we'll send out an email later on. But if you're interested in launching a tribe, whether it's as an individual or as a co-leader, this is a form that will come to the right staff, so we'll be able to keep you on our radar. If you have any other questions, we'll want to make sure that you can anytime reach out to Ellen, Allison, or I as well. And then I know we wanted to offer some time for Q&A, and before we do that, I'm going to quickly share a few other resources with you. And again, if you guys want to, I think you should be able to copy and paste this chat box and save these links. And if not, we will definitely be emailing out afterwards. These are just some other resources where I want to make sure you have these links accessible and able to refer to if you want to look into this a little more, whether it's as a participant, as a leader. Yes, they are all on the website. Thank you for asking that question. I got a private chat. All of these are links to the Temple Bethel website. So if the first one where it says tribe webpage, if you go there, it'll literally lead you to all of these other links. I'm also of the mindset I don't want you to have to go on a scavenger hunt. So if there's something specific you're looking for, I want to make it easy and accessible and a quick click away.